Good evening from New York. I'm Selwyn Collins, your host of CWS Journeys. Thank you for joining us this evening. Tonight, our guest is Mr. Stanley Ming, a son of our soil. For our listeners who are non-Guyanese, Stanley is a citizen of Guyana, a national of Guyana. I am not going to spend much time on an introduction tonight. I will just bring Stanley Ming on. Stanley, good evening and welcome to CWS Journeys.
Good evening, Selwyn, and thanks for having me on your program.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Selwyn, I'm hearing you.
All right. Stanley, let's just get right into it. Who is this man we have come to know as Stanley Ming?
Selwyn, I'm like many other Guyanese. I came from a very humble background. I was born on 61 Public Road, Kitty, in a tenement yard. And my parents were quite poor, at that time. And my dad was just a clerk. And I used to plant a kitchen garden to supplement my parents' income. And I also mind what we call yard fowl. So I know what it's like to come from very humble beginnings, and it's very typical of many other Guyanese who have succeeded over the years. So I don't consider myself an exception.
Stanley, I'm not hearing you too clearly. I don't know if you're too far away from the mic or the volume needs to go up a little bit more.
Let me just check that, Selwyn.
All right, sure. Okay. So working class, built a successful business. Did you ever imagine, Stanley, you would have been doing what you're doing today? And did you ever think you would have been so driven to transform Guyana as you have proposed in Guyana 2030?
Well, Selwyn, I think every Guyanese, given half an opportunity, would love to work towards the betterment of the country. I mean, I over the years of being in business and being in non-government organizations, working with communities around the country, the goodwill is there by almost everybody. I tell people the natural instinct of human beings all over the world is to contribute to the well-being first of themselves, then their families, and then their communities, and then if they succeed in all that, then towards the well-being of the country.
If you were not doing what you're doing today, what would you have wanted to be your career?
Well, Selby, when I was growing up, I always liked things that were mechanical. As a schoolboy, I used to repair motorcycles in the afternoons when I got home from school when I was about 11 years old. And then, obviously, like every other youngster, I fancied owning a motorcycle and then racing. And, I raced motorcycles for quite a while, starting in 1971 to 1985. And I raced professionally all over the world, including at Daytona, where I raced for 5 years. I raced in England. I raced in Cuba, Jamaica. Excuse me, just to mention a few. And I was Caribbean champion for about 5 years. And, I raced motorcycles, speeds up to 150 miles an hour at Daytona. So I liked speed, like many other youngsters. And I liked things mechanical, and I used to fix my own motorcycles because I couldn't afford to pay anyone to do it.
I like what you said. I had some questions for you before that, but I like that you introduced speed. Lover of speed, yet you had the patience to come up with this vision, to articulate it, and wait, and you were actually waiting for this vision to unfold. Where did you get that patience from? Where did you get that patience from?
Well, Selwyn, I think everybody knows that anything that is good that one wants to achieve takes time. And, as the old saying said, Rome was not built in a day. And what I always do when I travel, I'm not a good tourist going to see tourist sites, but I always, when I go anywhere in the world, and up to this point, I've been to over 80 countries, I always try to find out what makes countries succeed and what makes them fail. What are the policies of the politicians and the government? And then I try to see how Guyana fits into the picture based on our history, based on our culture, based on our geography and where we are located in terms of our climate and our type of soil. And I also have the good fortune of knowing some very competent Guyanese in the form of people like Major General retired Joe Singh, who knows this country like most of us know the back of our hand. People like Eric Phillips, who was in charge of AT&T's globalization program for Eastern Europe, and Supriya Singh, who is a businesswoman, very successful in her own right. And we sat down for a number of years talking about Guyana, like many others do. I'm sure you and your Guyanese friends do that too. And we tried to figure out what can be done to make Guyana really a successful country. And having looked at it from many different angles and looked at all the studies that were done, and Guyana has been studied ad nauseum. I tell people we have had studies done about every aspect of what we need to do to improve the country and the welfare of the people. It's just that what we don't have is the political will to take on the challenges that are presented. We've been playing very partisan, non-productive politics for most of the time since we became independent, and not looking at the bigger picture.
Stanley, you know what I want to do? You're obviously a gem with many facets. And oftentimes people get a glimpse of one or two of our facets and they form an opinion. What I would like to do during this conversation is twist this gem a little bit and expose the various sides of Stanley. And I want to get to how he got to here. This 9-year-old boy or this young boy who grew up in Kitty, went to Queen's College, um, get his grant, technical services, migrated to England, returned to Guyana, 10 years at Industrial Engineering Limited, then your own business, Stanley. What made you take that risk to start your own business?
Uh, well, again, Selvin, it's the when my parents were able to afford to buy a house.
Mm.
I remember very clearly my mother got a mortgage from the Building Society, and we moved to where she still lives right now. My dad passed away a year ago in Campbellville, John Street, Campbellville. And when we went there, in order to supplement my dad's income, she started a little what we call a salt good shop.
Mm.
That's what the Chinese term is. And I clearly remember every day when I woke up in the morning, I had to open the shop, sell until I was ready to go to school. In those days, I used to walk to school in Bar Street, Kitty, until I passed common entrance and I was rewarded with a bicycle. I remember a Rudge bicycle that was $112 at the time. And I learned a lot of my little business skills that I still apply today from working in that shop. And at weekends and Saturdays, I used to package flour, sugar, and salt. And in those days, it wasn't paper bags, it was brown paper that you had to wrap it up and fold the ends over. And I learned a lot about what business is, to buy something for 10 cents, sell it for 12 cents, and make 20% profit. So most of my business skills were learned by my mom. I didn't go to Harvard or Yale or any of those because even though I had the opportunity to go to university, because my parents were so poor, I started earning more money than my dad, but I got my first job working as a salesman for motorcycles and get a grant. And I continue to do that so I can help my parents to put my brothers and sisters through school. So I had to self-teach. I was self-taught in engineering and all the things that I've done.
Stanley, I read that part of your business model is to give back to the community. But before that, you set up business in Tiger Bay, an impoverished neighborhood known for all kinds of nefarious activities and so on. Why there? And having gone there, why did you choose to give back to the community the way you did?
Well, again, it's my upbringing, Selvin. My mom, from the time I was a little kid, my mom was a magnet for all the people in our Campbellville community who were lesser privileged. They used to come by our shop, and she would give them, items that they can cook. She donated it to them, and she always took care of the ones that were less privileged. And that stuck with all of us, not only me, all my brothers and sisters. We still think the same way because that's the way we were brought up by our parents. And when I came to Tiger Bay, first of all, I didn't think about Tiger Bay as being a bad place. I thought it was a place that didn't have opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came, I decided I was going to provide them with opportunity. And the first thing I did was I met with the elders of the community, and mainly the wives and the mothers of the community. And I said to them, look, I'm coming to set a business in Tiger Bay. Everybody tells me that you guys are going to steal me blind, but I'm not sure that that is the truth. I suspect that if you guys have the opportunity to better yourselves, that you will do so. And obviously you have challenges, and I want to know what those are. And what the mothers told me was that their children didn't have the opportunity to go to school most of the time because they were, a lot of the time they were sick for various reasons. They couldn't go to the hospital or the doctor to get medical checks or prescriptions. And I said to them, look, based on what people tell me, I can do two things. I can put up a high fence, put up barbed wire, put armed guards, or I can take that money and invest it in the community. And I said I prefer to invest it in the community. And they said, Mr. Ming, we'd like you to do that. So their main concern was the health of their children going to school. So what we did at that time is we got them to prepare a listing of all the kids, their ages and stuff like that. And we went into a deal with them where the company insured the lives of all of those kids for any medical purposes. And it was over 300 kids. And they were each given an ID card. And they were able to go with that to private hospitals and to get all their prescriptions filled, and we paid for that. And the end result of that was within 1 year, there are 3 young ladies from Tiger Bay that passed common entrance and were accepted into Queen's College and Bishops. And what I knew was that they were psychologically at a disadvantage because of the stigma of Tiger Bay. Mm-hmm. So what I did is when I came to work in the morning, my chauffeur took them to school every day, and they arrived just like the other kids whose parents were obviously better off than they are, who were either chauffeur driven or taken by their parents. So psychologically they were on the same level, and those 3 young ladies completed their entire career right up to fifth form, and they came to work for me. And then one of them became my assistant to my personal assistant, and they've all graduated and gone on to the university abroad. So what that tells anybody, and I mean I think everybody knows that, it's opportunities that they lack, and if you provide it for them to have the opportunity, they will excel.
Stanley, I saw a video that you did on Guyana 2030. We'll get to that eventually, but I want to take a piece from that I found rather moving. This whole thing with private and public partnership. If most businesses were to adopt a similar model, what do you think Guyana will look like?
Well, again, Selvin, I think one of the problems that the world has is that we don't stop long enough to think about what the real world is. Mm-hmm. I mean, I tell my parents, I tell my kids, I said, at the end of my career and my life, I can't take anything with me. My coffin has no shelves. In fact, I told them that I want them to light a big bonfire and cremate me when the time comes. And, in the case of Guyana, more so, our population has not grown for umpteen years. Now, if for argument that 10% of the population can afford to buy the products and services that I provide, and it's not growing, the only way that my business can increase is that 10% has to increase to, say, 15, 20, 25%. And for that to happen, what you have to do is to lift the people that are at the bottom, you got to lift them up. And to lift them up, I always tell people the best investment you can do for any country or any society is to educate your people. Because when you do so, you won't have problems of antisocial behavior. If you teach them the right things about health or right things about safe sex, whatever it is that makes us cultured and productive and sophisticated, when you educate people, that's what you got.
Mm-hmm. Your mother, you obviously learned a lot from her. She started this shop to supplement the income. You've learned discipline and commitment and so on. And then your father was a civil servant. Now, is there any particular thing you remember from them, or either your dad or your mom, that still resonates with you today, other than, yeah?
Well, my mom was the one that, she was the disciplinarian. Easy guy. But mom always, when we were very well, when we were in Kitty, we were very poor, but my mom made it her duty to pay for private education at the time, rather than send us to public school, because she felt that the private schools had better opportunities for the kids to learn and progress. And she sent us to private schools. That's a lot of sacrifice. She sent us to private schools. That's a lot of sacrifice on her own.
Stanley, you're a father yourself. How did fatherhood change you?
Again, Selvin, I don't think I'm any different from many other fathers around the world. You know, at this point in time, I tell all my kids and my friends that Stanley Ming, I don't need a lot to survive and to live comfortably. I have a home, I have a car. I don't have any aspirations to own a plane or a helicopter or a yacht or anything. I'm quite content with what I have, and I think the most important thing in life is to be contented with whatever you have. I mean, I enjoy things like motor racing. I still kart. I drive karts with my son and my daughters. And, as I tell people, contentment is the most important thing. And that is what I am. I'm quite
Yes.
content with what I have. I mean, I see a lot of people around me that are 10, 20, 30, 40 times richer than I am in terms of material wealth, but it doesn't at all make me feel in any way inferior or jealous, because they have their own lives to live, they have their own aspirations, nothing wrong with that, but I'm content with what I have. And I have four kids, all of whom are in university. My two elder daughters have their first degrees in biology. One is now at University of California, Berkeley. She's going to graduate next year with an OD, Doctor of Optometry. The other one is going on to do physician assistant. My third daughter is studying business and finance, which she graduates in about another year's time. And my son just started university to do civil engineering. And again, I always tell them that I will give them the best education I can afford to give them, and after that, they have to develop themselves like I did. Because if you give kids anything on a platter, as you see in many parts of the world in many occasions, they don't appreciate what it takes to work and achieve.
Stanley, if you could take us back to your thoughts in 2001 as you were being sworn in as a member of parliament, what were you thinking as that was happening?
Selwyn, that's a very interesting question. I didn't want to get into politics from the word go, but I was befriended by a very special person in my opinion, Mr. Desmond Hoyt, who was the president up until 1992. I met him in 1990, and I met him in a very interesting environment where he was campaigning for re-election. And a group of young people, including myself, Nigel Hughes, I remember Cathy Hughes, and several others. And we were meeting in a private home. And I said to him, I said, Mr. President, I didn't know him personally at the time, is that, in my opinion, you have tried a lot since you became president, which was in 1985, to change the way Ghana was going. But I didn't think a lot of the people around him shared the same view and commitment to change Ghana. And I confronted him and I told him a lot of things that I thought were wrong, including the fact that all the schools were taken over by the government. They were nationalized, and they were not really producing the type of scholars that we needed to produce, because the government couldn't afford to provide free education throughout the system. We just didn't have the money. So I told him that we should allow those who could pay for private education to reestablish private schools. And a couple other things I told him, like, computers at the time were considered electronic goods, and they were attracting like 60% taxes. And I said, Mr. President, you should remove those taxes, because computers are not about computing. They're the tool to use for all types of applications, including education. And to my pleasant surprise, he did a presentation to the Teachers Association, the graduating teachers at the Teachers Training College. 2 days after, I spoke to him at the meeting, and he announced that private schools could be reestablished. And within 4 days after that, he passed whatever he told the finance minister, Carl Greenidge, at the time, to allow computers to be allowed into Ghana free of any import taxes. And there were many other things that he did after I engaged with him. And we became personal friends. And in the run up to the elections in 1997, he invited me to join his party. And I told him I wasn't interested in politics because, you know, it was not my kind of environment. And I, you know, didn't bite the bait. And then again in 2001, 2000, he said to me, he said, Stanley, you know, one of the problems with people like yourselves and a few others is that you guys have the ability to help Ghana to change, but you don't want to make the commitment and the sacrifice. And that struck me as a little bit, maybe he was right. And a group of friends, Supriya Singh, Eric Phillips, Jerome Khan, George Norton, they came to me and said, you know, why don't we form a political group and join with Mr. Hoyt to help to change Ghana? And that's how the reform came about. And I was asked to be the leader of reform. I didn't, you know, there was no, I didn't campaign to be the leader of reform. I was asked by the group. And we tried our best. After we went into Parliament in 2001, I was Shadow Minister for Housing, Water, and I was a member of the Public Accounts Committee, the Social Services Committee, and we worked hard. But I don't think I were to mark myself out of 10, how much we succeeded, I would say maximum maybe 4, and it wasn't for the want of trying. The system is not one that is very conducive to change or to development or to thinking for the betterment of the people. You know, politics in countries like Ghana is very backward. It remains so up to today. I mean, you have a situation today where you have one major political party trying to create racial division, the other one, the opposition, trying to create unity, and you know, they're just going at each other's throats without thinking about what the future is going to be for the country and its people.
Having managed to stay out of politics for so long, Stanley, what surprised you about Parliament?
Let me give you the hard, cold facts, right? Rather than giving a politically correct answer. You know, I remember Lee Kuan Yew said many years ago he didn't care to be politically correct once he was correct was all that matters. The Parliament of Ghana, I've always told a lot of people, and no disrespect to anybody, it's a talk shop. It's not serious about changing the future and the well-being of the dynamics of the country. It's about self-preservation and maintaining the status quo.
Wow. Wow. Did you have any satisfaction at all during your tenure there?
Yes, I learned what not to do.
That's good, Stanley. I like that. I wanna touch on your parents one last time. If you were to eavesdrop the two of them, I know your dad is passed, but if you were to eavesdrop the two of them, telling a stranger about their son Stanley, what do you think they would say?
Well, my mom. Everybody tells my mom. Well, my brothers tell my mom that I'm their favorite child, but I suspect that because I was the eldest. I don't think there was any other reason, to be quite frank. But what happened is that I was extremely close to my mom. I saw the sacrifices she made growing up. I mean, she taught me so many things. I mean, when I was a kid, about 12 years old, she taught me how to cover buttons, how to cover buckle heads, how to sew buttonholes on women's garments especially. And I was quite an expert at doing it. And, you know, that supplemented her income. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I was always by her side learning things from her. And it didn't matter what she taught me anything that she did. And I think for that reason, we became very close. You know, the others were not as close to her as I was. And I remember telling her when I started my first job at Gettys Brothers, I says, Mom, as soon as I can earn a decent living, I don't want you to work anymore. I want you to close the shop. And that's what I did. As soon as I earned,
Stanley, you know, so you early on when you were telling me about the business model you implemented to help to empower the people of Tiger Bay, something struck me, that the people you approached in the community to ask what was going on were the women. Do you believe it was your...
Some guys too, but mainly women.
Mainly
women.
Women.
Generally are a lot more conscious about and make a lot more effort, I think, about the welfare of their children.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
It's natural maternal instinct, I think, more so than the guys. You know, guys tend to be a little bit more laissez-faire about it, but mothers are very, very committed to their family.
Stanley, you had a mission when you first started your business. You gave back tremendously. Has it changed over the years? Has it tweaked a little bit? Has it remained the same?
Well, right now, to be quite honest, Selvin, I spend more time doing things outside of business, working with communities and non-government organizations. You know, I was one of the people that founded Habitat for Humanity in Ghana. I was a member of the Special Olympic Committee. I worked with the Tommy Reed Rehab Center. I work continuously with organizations. Right now, I'm working with a special project which is funded by USAID to help children who are lesser privileged, some of them who were delinquent in some way and had to go to the New Opportunity Corps school, and we're trying to help them now to become their own independent business people. And the USAID program is going to give them, if they've come up with a good business plan, $200,000 to start their own businesses, which will be a grant. And just last Sunday, I was with that group out at my place in Parika, working with them, sharing ideas and some thoughts about how they should go about setting up their businesses in order to remove the chances of failure and give them a better chance to succeed.
And I want to ask you this last question before we take a quick break. You started with 4 employees. You now employ an average of 50. What does this say about Stanley Ming, the businessman?
Again, Selvin, I don't think I'm anything special. A lot of people have succeeded. I think the main reason I've succeeded is because I surround myself with very competent people. I give them the best tools that I can possibly establish. You know, my company from day one was fully computerized. We were the first to put in a Novell network and many of the other modern systems in today's businesses. And I spent a lot of money having my staff trained. And to be quite honest, right now I feel a little bit bad because most of the time I don't know what's happening in the company, because I spend a lot of time away from the company now. My son, who is racing go-karts in the United States at the professional level. But, you know, I feel in no way that the business is at a disadvantage, because the people that I have, I can put my neck on a block that they are very capable. I totally trust their integrity. And when I leave, I just go out the door. I just tell them I'm gone. I don't even tell them when I come back.
So trust is important.
Yeah.
Let's take a break, Sandy.
Okay, Sam.